Hey everyone, I'm sorry that I haven't posted in a while. I've had motivation. I just have had other things I would rather spend with my time. Either way though, I'm here, so let's just get into the deck profile. I'm not going to go too in depth with these. They're pretty self-explanatory. Valier and Imperm are pretty good. Ash is pretty good. They hit everything to some extent, at least. It especially likes Dimension Shifter. Dimension Shifter shuts off most rogue decks may run into. 3 Nimble Beaver, it helps you get to Wallaby more easily, and it can also get you to Staring Contest and Shuffle back a brick to get to Wallaby afterwards. It's a good card going second as well because of Sky Cavalry, being able to make Zeus after going to Downward Magician. Be a Rescue Cat, the best starter in the deck. It gets to Wallaby and Kalantosa. You can also go Wallaby and Melffy Puppy and just summon Caddy and Pony off of the Wallaby instead of Puppy and Caddy. Devil Kalantosa, I'm on two because the second copy comes up a lot in the grind game. Double Kerass. You can play one of these if you want to. I'm on two because sometimes the second one does come up and you don't really mind playing the second one. Kerass get you to a Shurag, which can out certain cards that you may need to. You can also get to a Farragut to get to the Shurag as well if you don't have enough cards in graveyard. And the draw one's also pretty helpful in clogging stuff out of your hand, like a Kalantosa or maybe a Pony. Staring Contest helps get to Wallaby. You're not on one because there's not really a point in playing one inside of pure Melffy. And you're not on three either. Prosperity helps you get to cards you may need. So if you don't have a start in your hand, you can get to Beaver, Cat, you can get to Wallaby or Staring Contest. This thing is never bad, really. A lot of people struggle with prosperity banishes. Not too difficult. You just have to have an understanding of the situation or your matchup. If you're going blind first, you may just want to banish cards you probably won't need based on your hand. A lot of the times I just banish Joyce Melffy or a Melffy of the Forest. Fenrir. This card's really good in this deck. It's of course just a random banish and deck thinning. Something you may notice with this list is that I'm not on Obedience Gold. Melffy is pretty bricky as it is, so adding more bricks for an Echeria beast isn't really needed. It's a really good card, don't get me wrong, but giving up stuff like Fenrir for it isn't worth it. I feel like Fenrir benefits the deck much more than a spell floodgate, and it's not like the deck struggles against the runic matchup that badly. Their starters like Nimble Beaver, Rescue Cat, it really sucks losing them, but it's not the end of the world if you do. If you want to though, you can still play a Cherry Beast package. With Fenrir, I just don't really recommend playing Obedience Gold in this deck anymore. I feel like it's really outdated. At least right now it is. That could change in the future. We're on 3 Royal Decree because Melffy struggles a lot with back row. Labyrinth is decently popular right now, and it's pretty much just an instant lose matchup when you're playing Melffy. So you kind of need cards like these if you want to stand a chance. Nibiru's pretty good right now. One of the benefits of Nibiru and Melffy is that you can just bounce back your Melffy, so Nibiru doesn't pop them. Harby's Feather Duster and Twin Twisters, like with Royal Decree, Melffy loses to back row pretty hard, so you want to be able to hit back row back. That's also why I'm on 3 Cosmic Cyclone. I don't think Book of Eclipse really needs an explanation. A cool interaction you do have is that you can just use the effects of the Melffy monsters, then chain Book of Eclipse to them, and even though they're flipped face down, they'll still return back to hand and resolve their effects. Extra deck, we're on Excel, Synchro, Stardust Dragon, Baron de Flare, Desert Locust, Merry Melffy, Satellite Warrior, and Stardust Dragon for Synchro Monsters. They're just a part of the Melffy Penny stuff. You go Desert Locust into Excel Synchro Stardust, then swim back Sealy, go into Stardust Dragon, then you can just go into Satellite Warrior or Flare. It really depends on the situation. You can also go into Merry Melffy's. I don't go into this a lot, but this really helps outing a lot of floodgates. We're on Double Zeus, 1 Downward, 2 Joyce Melffy, 1 Forest, and 1 Sky Cavalry Centaura. So this is just the standard Zeus package you're going to have. I know some people like to play Mosquito over this, but personally, I do prefer Centaura. Just because it has uses for other things, and it's also a Beast Warrior, which allows you to banish it off of Kerass. Joyce Melffys. You can play one of these if you really want to, but I'm on two for the banish off of Prosperity, and the second copy does come up a surprising amount of times. You can also use this to go into Zeus if you've already ran through your first Centaura, and you still have access to your second Zeus. Melffy of the Forest is just for Nimble Beaver. If you're not on Nimble Beaver for whatever reason, then you probably shouldn't be on Melffy of the Forest either. Farragut and Shrek are our only two Link monsters, and this is just purely for Kerass. I've already explained this when I was explaining Kerass, so I don't think these need any explanations. Now that we're done with the deck profile, I'm just going to go ahead and show some quote-unquote combos. This is how you use Nimble Beaver. You just want to use its effect, summon another copy of itself. Then you turn these into Melffy of the Forest. You pretty much just detach a card, add another Melffy, and also as a second effect to negate the effects of an opposing face-up monster your opponent controls after a Melffy returns to the hand. So you're just going to use this, add Wallaby, and submit during the end phase. I do want to add, if you're going to activate the effect of Melffy of the Forest, it activates after a Melffy monster is returned to the hand. So if your opponent activates an on-summon effect, you can't actually negate it with Melffy of the Forest, because Melffy of the Forest would have to activate its effect after that chain resolves of their on-summon effect. So for example, they would go, I don't know, Chainlink 1 Alistair, and you Chainlink 2 Wally. You add Wally, summon Caddy and Puppy, and they add Invocation, but it's only after they add Invocation that you can use the effect of Melffy of the Forest to negate its effects. You can also add Melffy Staring Contest off of Melffy of the Forest if you want to shuffle Break like Kalantosa back. Then afterwards, you can just add Melffy Wally like you normally do. Although a benefit to this is you now can just reveal Melffys from your hand at the start of the battle phase because of the second effect of Melffy Staring Contest. And this is minor, but it can decide some games. But you should just never forget this effect. It comes in handy occasionally. Now this is the basic Rescue Cat starting play. Normal Rescue Cat uses its effect, brings out Wallaby and Kalantosa. There you turn these into Joy's Melffy, put in the extra monster zone. Now use the effect of Joy's Melffy. You summon back Wally, and summon back Kalantosa. Kalantosa pops one, and your Wally's now enabled to start the Melffy combo. Instead, you can also summon Melffy Puppy if you want to time your Kalantosa correctly. Now this is just the basic Melffy combo with Wallaby. You summon Wallaby during the end phase. When the opponent summons a monster, Wallaby triggers. This gets out Caddy and Puppy. Now you use the effect of Puppy, Chainlink 1 Puppy, Chainlink 2 Caddy. You tend to want to use Caddy as Chainlink 2, so that after you add Celia with it, it can immediately activate on the resolve of Puppy's effect. Here you get a pop one with Kalantosa, and you also get to use Celia's effect immediately. Now you go into Desert Locust. Desert Locust has a mandatory discard 1 effect on its Synchro Summon, so this can either be a pitch one for the opponent, but this can also benefit them because they're getting a card in the graveyard, so you do want to keep that in mind. Now you just Synchro Kalantosa and Desert Locust into Excel Synchro Stardust Dragon. Stardust activates its effect. This summons Penny back. You tribute it. Gets you to Stardust Dragon, and now depending on the situation, you could go into Satellite Warrior, but you can also go into a Flare. I found myself use Satellite Warrior a lot more than Flare, but that's only because of the current back row decks. Satellite Warrior also has a permanent 3k gain effect for each card destroyed, so you should really keep that in mind when you're trying to OTK on the following turn. It also has a floating effect of if the Synchro Summon card is destroyed, you can just summon back a Warrior, Synchron, or Stardust Synchro monster from a graveyard. The only one of these three types that we play are Synchro Stardust Monsters. So Excel Synchro Stardust Dragon is pretty much the only target you can summon back, since Stardust Dragon wasn't actually properly summoned. That's the end of the profile. If you have any questions, then leave them down below in the comments. I also have a Dueling Book account if you want to try and message me there for questions. My Dueling Book account's name is Melffy but sad. There should be a little button right here that says message. You can also try to friend me, but I'll probably not accept your request. Depends on who you are. That's the end of the video, and again, leave any questions if you have them, and I'll see you whenever I post again.